5 miles west of downtown Indianapolis, you find the incorporated town of Speedway, Indiana, a city synonymous with speed. Hello and welcome to the world-famous Brickyard in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is time to go qualifying for the final round of GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS and Intercontinental GT Challenge. This is the Indy 8-Hour presented by AWS. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish and Jonathan Grace are alongside. It's Amanda Busick down in the pit lane. And Calvin, the pressure starts to mount from this point onwards. Crucial qualifying session will set the grid from 11th on back and also determine the top 10 that will vie for pole this evening.
Yeah, and I think this is the time that everyone really shows what they have, because you certainly want to make it to that Super Pole session here a little bit later in the day, so you want to be inside that top 10. Lots of cars vying for that. Times were really tight in that practice, the pre-qualifying session, that we had a little bit earlier today. So no one can afford to be too conservative, because you've got to be at the sharp end and make sure you don't just miss the cut today.
Beautiful fall day at the Speedway, Jonathan. What stories do you have your eyes on?
Well, I think the big one, Ryan, is can anyone catch Mercedes-AMG? Those GT3 Evos have been dynamite right from the get-go of the weekend. They've had fairly unproblematic runs, at least for the cars that we've seen at the sharp end. The 04 was making up some time, but it didn't seem to be an issue in pre-qualifying. BMW has the M4 GT3 Evo looking quick, but I'm curious to see if Porsche can catch them as well. But right now, I think it's a battle of the German giants. Questions
about to be answered as we get ready to go qualifying. So much star power down on this pit lane, and bringing some IndyCar star power to the grid is 2018 Indy 500 winner Will Power, standing by with our Amanda Busick.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Ryan. And of the breaking news that we had for this Indianapolis 8-hour, one of the biggest stories came into the last week with the inclusion of this guy in the paddock here this weekend. And Will, you think of the news you're brought up. You have championship implications with Kenny Habul here this weekend. How did this come together for you, and when did you find out you were going to be taking the reins of that Mercedes?
I was actually on vacation in Australia, and Kenny texted me late at night and said, you got a minute? And then asked me. I was like, yeah, absolutely, man. I'd love to come and race here. It's a good place to do it. I know the track and know this place well. So, yeah, I've been learning everything I can off Chaz and Kenny. They're definitely a different beast to drive, but it's a lot of fun. It's a pretty cool car. Love the event and all the people here.
Prior to this weekend, what was your experience in a GT3 car?
About 25 years ago, I drove one at Bathurst, and that was the last time I drove a GT car. So it felt very awkward straight out of the box, because I'd had so many reps in the Indy car around here. So it was just felt rolly and heavy and all that stuff. But every time I get in, I feel more comfortable. I feel really at home now, and really loving it. Looking forward to qualifying. It's a lot of quick guys here.
Well, Chaz is going to kick off this effort. I think he's getting suited to get in. Kenny Habul will be second, and you will finish off. But as a team, you seem like you guys have zero fun.
Zero fun? Yeah, no, that's Kenny. He doesn't like to have fun, of course. Kenny is, you're going to have a lot of fun if you drive for Kenny. And Kenny, man, he's a bloody good driver too. You know, he's obviously focused most of his career on business. I raced him in the 90s in Formula Forward. I think there's a picture of us on the podium at the Gold Coast race where IndyCar used to race. We've known each other for a long time. We've wanted to do a race together for years, and this presented itself, so it's perfect.
And then just real quickly, in pre-qualifying, we saw 4 Mercedes at the top of the charts. What do you expect to see unravel here in qualifying?
I don't know. I'm not used to the whole BOP thing, but I think the BMWs might be holding a little bit back or something, as I'm told. I have no idea, but I'm going to go out and do my best. The Mercedes have looked really good, and the car handles very well, so we'll see what we got.
Good luck to Will Power. Gotta love it. Already calling shots out here, guys.
I was about to say the same thing. He might be new to GT3 racing, but he's already invoking BOP, Calvin. He sounds like an old hand.
Yeah, I think he learns quickly, right? So, got up to speed immediately this morning, so that was really cool to watch. But, it's exciting to see so many big names here for our final race of the season. All of the driver championships are up for grabs here, so lots to talk about, lots of different scenarios. And today we're really just setting the table for the big 8-hour race here tomorrow.
To put a bow on the Will Power Power's story. Of course, the Indy 500 win, 5 times an IndyCar winner on the IMS road course, tied with Michael Schumacher for most top-level road course wins here at Indianapolis, albeit on slightly different layouts. But who holds the overall track record on the IMS road course? Will Power. Set that back in 2017 in IndyCar qualifying. So he knows his way around this place. We'll see what he can do in a GT3 car coming up in round 3, segment 3 of qualifying. It's worth going over the story of how this qualifying will play out. It's a 3-stage process, and it's an aggregate cal of all 3 drivers' times in the qualifying session. So that means everyone has a part to play.
They do, certainly in this phase of it. And then in the Super Pole, essentially you pick your fastest man and put them behind the wheel for that 15-minute session there at the end. So also every session gets its own fresh set of Pirelli P0s as they come out your 12-set allocation. A 4th set will be allowed in that Super Pole session. That is then replaced, so no one's at an advantage or disadvantage going into race day.
So much to look ahead to, of course, with the race looming tomorrow, but in many ways the table is set right here. Maybe for the first time we'll see the full strength of some of these teams and drivers, many of whom are thinking about championships, Amanda Busick, and you found one such driver, Kitten Cook.
Well, after that comment by Will Power, I needed to come down to a BMW team, right? You will see Philip Ing and Bill Oberlin up there. They will have the 51 BMW on track this weekend. But this guy is going for double duty, looking for a championship in 2 different series, GT World Challenge America being one different race suit because of the double duty. You're just framing your mindset ahead of this weekend. How do you juggle it?
Well, yeah, just jumped out of the GT4 qualifying, and yeah, it's definitely interesting going back and forth between the 2 cars, the GT3 and the GT4. But once you've done it a couple times, it's not too bad. I would say, though, the hardest thing is going from the GT4 into the GT3. One, mainly because it's actually quite easy to overdrive the GT3, and the GT4 is just takes a different style. So just trying to make sure you nail it in qualifying, kind of just vision what you were doing in practice before, and hopefully you can improve on that and get a little bit better for qualifying.
Well, just to answer Will Power's question quickly, were you guys restricting performance in pre-qualifying?
No, but I'm sure they were.
That's how the game is played, folks. Kitten Cook with a wry smile on his face. Good to see him walking around without any signs of discomfort. He sprained his left ankle walking down some stairs last week, drove well at Petit Le Mans, the IMSA season finale, and then has 3 races, including an 8-hour race here this weekend. But he's had to adjust, Calvin. He's been a left foot braker since he was in MX5 Cup about a decade ago, but he's had to go back to being a right foot braker with this left ankle injury.
He did for last weekend. I believe we'll check in with him, but I think he's back to his left foot braking here this weekend. He looked pretty spry on pit lane here yesterday when I saw him walking behind their pit box. We'll have to double check on that, but he was amazing last weekend. It didn't really seem to affect his pace whatsoever. First session out, he was 3rd quickest there at Atlanta. So he's super adaptable. He's on a high. Just an amazing season across all chapters of his racing stuff at the moment.
Qualified 4th in the silver class just moments ago as well for Pirelli GT4 America, their pair of races to conclude the season. He's got a chance to win a GT4 championship this year in GT World Challenge America, as well as the GT3 title here in this series, GT World Challenge America. GT4, of course, in Pirelli GT4 America. That's never been done before. One of several history-making feats that could be accomplished before this weekend is said and done. Green flag waves, and the first 15-minute segment is underway, wasting no time. Basically, the entire field of 25 cars making its way out on track quickly. One benefit of this track, Cal, it's a relatively short lap, so you do get a couple bites at the apple.
You certainly do, and we talked earlier today about the fact that the minimum pressure is 1.3 bar. That's about 18, 19 pounds of pressure, so that's a factor in terms of how you set up this race car, whether you want it to come to life very quickly, or whether you want to take your time and let the fuel burn go down a little bit and get more rubber down on the racetrack as well.
The car that was first across the yard of bricks 1 year ago ended up 2nd overall on adjusted time. Wright Motorsports back with a vengeance. The same driver lineup returns as they go for overall glory. One member of that driving lineup is Lauren Heinrich, who's with Amanda.
Ryan, you'll be shocked to learn that that's exactly what we were just talking about off camera. How do you avenge what happened last year, Lauren?
Yeah, last year was a roller coaster race, I would say. First of all, we did not expect to fight for the overall victory, and coming into the last hours, we found ourselves in the best position to score it. Unfortunately, we had a small pit lane penalty, 5-second penalty, and we crossed the line actually first on track, but only with a 4.8-second gap. So we lost the overall victory by 0.2 seconds. But in the end, we have to see the positives. We secured the championship for Ride last year. But now we came back just for the sole purpose of winning this race, now for real.
Welcome back, and we also love to see Elliott Skier and Adam Adelson back with us too, guys. What a great weekend.
It'll be fantastic. Wonderful to have them back in the paddock. And of course, Heinrich, a former pole sitter in this event. That was back in 2023 when he drove a Pro-Am entry for Huber Motorsports. We've seen Pro-Am entries qualify at the very front of the field a couple of times in recent memory here at the Indy 8 Hours. So the key here is just making sure you get through in the top 10 on the aggregate across the 3 drivers, and then those Pro-Am lineups have some really strong drivers to turn it over to if they should make it through to the pole shootout.
Yeah, I think it's like Formula One qualifying. If you've got a really solid setup and you're one of the quicker cars, you just need a good clean run. You need all 3 drivers to execute. There'll be others who are maybe outside of that top 10 here in pre-qualifying. I'll be thinking we've got to be pushing really hard, so they may have to roll the dice a little bit further.
Here's the roll call. Ross Schwez, Colin Brown, Tom Callender, Chaz Moster, Kyle Washington, Adrian De Silva, Marcelo Hahn, Gray Newell, Blake McDonald, Mackay Stevens, Alex Sedgwick, Kelvin Vanderlinde, Antares Au, Raffaele Marciello, Ralph Bone, Dustin Blattner, Justin Rothberg, also Todd Coleman, Jeff Burton, Connor Daly, the IndyCar driver, Lynn Hodanius, Scott Dolehite, Adam Adelson, Jay Schreibman, Varun Choksi, the 25 drivers that will qualify here in this first segment. Many teams electing to come right into the pits the first time around, Cal. What do you make of that?
I'm not sure, actually. I mean, you basically got to stick with the same set of tires for this first qualifying segment. So I'm not sure if they're just doing some pressure adjustments here or what have you, but there's no games to be played as far as I'm concerned in terms of switching to different tire sets or anything like that.
Watching the 777 piloted in this segment by Raffaele Marciello, dubbed by a longtime colleague, John Watson. Don't blink, because he never blinks, it seems, when you've got a camera on his eyes when he's at work in the cockpit. One of the top GT drivers anywhere in the world for many, many years. This year, and for the last handful, been busy with BMW's prototype program, but back at home in a GT machine. And look out, he is quick around Indianapolis. Sister car here carries the number 46, which could only mean one thing. The doctor is in. Valentino Rossi, part of this driver lineup, former winner on the IMS road course in MotoGP competition.
See the difference in speeds here with drivers already up and on the wheel versus drivers just coming out of pit lane. So you've got to have your eyes and wits about you. Certainly closing speeds can be rapid. You're touching about 160 on that brake zone down into turn 7. Big bump there, by the way, that the drivers may elect to kind of go around, like coming out of Casino Square at Monte Carlo, or just trying to get the car set up to deal with the bump.
Got my eye on this car. Lynn Hodanius, young Dutch driver, who is an up-and-comer to keep an eye on. Already raced here once at Indianapolis 1 month ago. Same team, same Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, different tire, of course, but has that recent experience, part of the silver driver in the lineup for the Lone Star Racing team. And this year, Calvin, every pro lineup has to contain at least one silver or bronze.
Yeah, and he's just gone purple through the first couple of sectors here, so that's certainly impressive. That's in the pro class.
Mercedes has been so strong all throughout the course of the week up to this point. And it is Lynn Hodanius now, his first year of GT racing, making that transition, as so many young drivers are, to GTs out of single-seaters in pursuit of a motorsports career. And he has the second fastest time so far. Blake McDonald the quickest at a 1:25.976, but we're a ways off of what we expect to be the optimal pace, which we've seen so far down in the low 123s, and we might be even faster than that before it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think we're going to be looking at maybe high 22, certainly by the time it cools off for that Super Pole session a little bit later this afternoon, which takes place, I think, at 5:45 here local.
That is every racing driver's dream, to get through to that session where you get your sticker tires, you've got ideal conditions, low tanks, and you just get to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. You know, it's not going to win you an 8-hour race. It just kind of sets the stage. Maybe be a little bit clear of some of the kerfuffle that can happen down in that first chicane. Turn 1 and 2 is certainly difficult to negotiate on relatively cold tires here tomorrow, and the weather could be anything, right? We're hearing that there may be some showers in the forecast, heavy winds forecast, so being up front would certainly be the best place to start, so they'll be focused on that for sure.
Here is Hodanius. His first sector was just overtaken marginally, but he had a great middle sector here. Coming through, this is the 12, 13, 14 complex. Crucial corner right here, turn 14. Back up on to the main straightaway at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, going counter course if you're used to watching races on the oval. And Hodanius blitzes to the top. That's the first proper lap we've seen at a 1:23.390.
Yeah, that's getting with the program. I would expect maybe lap 4-5 here would be the peak. But again, it really depends how you set the car up. You could even start it a little bit higher than that minimum tire pressure we mentioned earlier to get it fired off a little bit quicker. And then if you can do that, essentially these tires will be used in the race here this weekend as well. So you're giving them a little bit more life when it counts here tomorrow.
A Mercedes Armada thundering across the yard of Briggs right now. Mackay Stevens, who's vying for a GT World Challenge America Pro Class Championship here this weekend, jumps to P2 within a tenth and a half of Hodanius. Mercedes 1, 2, 3. Where have we seen that before?
We saw it early today, and Jonathan forecast they're going to be tough to beat. But again, let's wait and see. We've got to wait for those WRT cars to get fired up, along with some of the other BMWs from Random Vandals and from Turner Motorsport.
And this one here, the 99, was well down the order at the end of that final session, the pre-qualifying session that we had earlier today. We're told there was a gearbox change for that car.
Ideal. This looks like a turbo boost toast maybe, or something like that.
Wow, and this is big for the championship in America. Turner Motorsport, Justin Rothberg, Robbie Foley, a 19-point lead coming in to the weekend, joined once again by Patrick Gallagher. The important thing to remember, again, 3 drivers take part in this. If for whatever reason one of your drivers does not set a time, you will be scored behind every car that has had all 3 drivers set times in this session.
Yeah, and I don't think he set a time right now, because those times, if he had, would be going out the window by working on the race car.
That's a good point. Yeah, so even though there is a time on the board, it's likely to get wiped away. Here is Chaz Mostert, Australian Supercars ace. Disappointment at Bathurst 1 week ago, but did get to take solace in liquid solace in the form of a few beers that were handed to him by the fans trackside at Mount Panorama. But he's made the flight to Indianapolis, joining up with Will Power and Kenny Habul in a star-studded entry in the Pro Class.
Unlike his famous IndyCar teammate, he does have some recent GT3 experience. Drove for Team RLL in some of the Enduro races. Won the Rolex, I believe, in 2020 for that team. So it's not been such a time out of running one of these style of cars for him.
It's also a Spa 24 class winner. That was in 2023, and won a GT World Challenge Australia Pro-Am Championship last year, in addition to his efforts in supercars. Hodanius still quickest. Marciello missed out by 21 thousandths of a second. But again, the top 10 really is the crucial thing to be watching here, because once we get through all 3 drivers, then it's the top 10 that move on to the pole shootout later on this evening. On the bubble is Dustin Blattner in car 21 with 14 thousandths of a second in hand over Adam Adelson. Meanwhile, here comes Chaz Mostert up onto the front straightaway once again on a lap that is trending the right direction.
See who he comes across the line with. That was his best, but stays in P3.
Top 3 are covered by less than a tenth. And there is a BMW there mixing it up at the front, so maybe some of Will Power's insights ringing a bit true here in the early stages.
Yeah, I think we all anticipated that. I mean, they're obviously on their setup agenda during free practice and certainly pre-qualifying, and now it's time to make sure that you make that top 10 and make the cut off, and then we'll see exactly what everyone's got later this afternoon point to be made is that there's no refueling during this qualifying session. The cars will be heavier certainly for this Q1 driver versus Q3, as the car will have a lighter fuel load and have fresher tires. So theoretically, the car should be fastest for that third qualifying segment.
Down to the nitty-gritty here. Final 4 minutes of Q1. Marciello to the line and to the top by half a tenth. BMW now taking the top spot away from Mercedes. It's BMW from Mercedes, from Mercedes, from BMW, from Mercedes. Before we get to the first Porsche, that's the impressive Briton Alex Sedgwick right now, 6th fastest. And a look at our circuit performance on Race Vision powered by AWS. 2 different Mercedes with the best times in sectors 1 and 2, but then it's the BMW in sector 3. Should probably talk a little bit about the racetrack here.
Yeah, certainly 2 long straightaways down into turn 1 and down in the turn 7 brake zone is where the most speed is seen. 165 miles an hour down the front stretch, 160 down Hellman Boulevard. But certainly relatively flat racetrack. There are some subtleties to it, like turn 12 here, turning in. This is on the exit of turn 1, coming off the speedway. Then you see there's a little bit of camber involved there, but then it just takes a lot of patience. This is a really key corner. Getting the power down, compromising the exit a little bit to just widen that arc, widen that radius, and come on the front straightaway.
888, welcome back to Group M. Tom Callender, the silver in this lineup, taking session number 1. Another one of these young up-and-comers, raced in DTM this year.
Yeah, the top 5 finish in the finale, so remarkable. Also was the youngest ADAC winning driver back in 2024 at the age of 16.
Yeah, just
Crazy.
last year in GT Masters. Here he comes with under 2 minutes to go. He's 6th at the moment, jumps to 4th, right around van der Linde.
Wow, kid is quick. Really super impressive.
We've had a few drivers use this as an introduction to the global motorsport stage. Go back to Luke Hartog last year, Lauren Heinrich certainly to North American racing when he stuck it on pole a couple of years ago. Maybe this is another star that will be born here at Indianapolis. This is big. Rothberg is out on track again.
Yeah, and he's laid down some decent sectors. He's got 24.8 on the board, so that's good news that the car is back up to speed. Just showcases what can go wrong on a big championship weekend. Luckily it happened now, not at the start of the race tomorrow.
Great work by the Turner team as well to identify the problem and make a quick fix to ensure at least there was a time on the board. Meanwhile, van der Linde has called it quits.
I think they'll be happy with that. I mean, if they can get, you know, the 2 pros to get those numbers down in the low 23 range, that should be good.
Report is he was on a decent lap but had a mistake or an off of some description, and so decided to bail. He's had most of the front runners at this late stage. Chaz Mostert, his job is done. It's a pat on the back from the 75 Express crew. This is now an all in-house effort, as it has been the last few years for Kenny Habul, team based out of Germany, running Kenny's programs all over the world. And look at that lineup. All Australians trying to take victory here at Indianapolis.
Rothberg just went personal best sector 1, a little bit slower through sector 2, and then a personal best in sector 3.
Good lap a moment ago as well from Connor Daly. This is in the car that we believe had the gearbox change just outside of the top 10, but not by much. So Connor's done his job now to let the full season drivers duke it out and try and make it inside the top 10 for a spot in the shootout.
Checkered flag is out, but the laps that are underway will still count and can be completed. Yeah, I spoke to Connor this weekend. He said, I really like the car this year. He said, I had pace last year, but wasn't really suiting me. But I think with the Evo kit and certainly the setup work that they've done on the car through the year with Random Vandals, he's in a much happier place. So that bodes well for him and that team this weekend. We talked about Will Power winning 5 times. Connor said, I love this place too. He's led here in IndyCar competition. not just in the 500, but also on the road course.
Yeah, this has been a happy hunting ground for him on the road course as Antares Au comes to the stripe. Won't improve from 16th. Connor Daly, though, is on a push lap. Personal best first sector. Personal best in Sector 2, so if he can put it together here through these final couple of corners, this car could jump inside the crucial top 10.
Yeah, and it's done on average, of course, but he sets the table for the other drivers who drive this car on a regular basis, so I think you're going to need to improve to give them a shot at this.
Checkered flag, and Daly is inside the top 10. He jumps to 9th, just ahead of the AM-class Ford Mustang of Scott Dollahite in P10. What a great performance from that Ford Mustang crew.
That is awesome. That is really great stuff. We saw Eric Powell, third fastest this morning. I think that was a sticker run, like a qualifying sim that he put together in that pre-qualifying, but he was really fast.
Fell back to 6th, I think, by the end of it, but spent a good chunk of the session inside the top 10, and or inside the top 5, and that was a sign, evidently, of things to come. So, yeah, that Mustang still very well could end up with a chance to go for the overall pole of the race. Leno Danius, fastest Mercedes driver in Q1. Not bad at all for the young man.
Yeah, I wonder if he hadn't already been granted that silver rating for next year, whether he'd be showcasing that sort of pace.
That's an interesting point that you make. But gets the job done there. 2023 Porsche Sprint Challenge Southern Europe class champion, but most of his background comes in single-seaters. Started in a number of big races this year, including Le Mans and the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. So, first of 3 qualifying sessions now complete. Everyone's seen the checkered flag. Let's take a look at how the field stacks up after the first 15 minutes of qualifying. Look how close it is, a tenth and a half essentially, covering the top 4. 1 second gets you all the way down to 11th. Really tight, as we've seen all throughout the weekend. Right now, there is an AM-class car provisionally in contention for the shootout. No Pro-Am cars, but really solid effort there by Blake McDonald to put that car fastest of the Pro-Am entries. And that's a car that is fighting for a championship here in GT World Challenge America, the season finale in the 8-hour tomorrow. 2 cars did not set times. That's interesting. We did not see either the CrowdStrike by Riley car nor this one, Regulator Racing, setting times. And again, the important thing to remember is, because this is an average, if one of your drivers does not take part, you will start behind all of those cars that did have 3 drivers set times in qualifying. If for whatever reason you only have 1 driver set a time, then you start behind those that only had 2, etc.
Yeah, I think the reason we're seeing like a 3-4 second spread is because obviously a lot of the AMs were out for that qualifying session, because we had, 22 cars within a second of each other here earlier today.
Got a few stories to chase down in the pit lane between these sessions. Let's do so now and bring in once again Amanda.
Hey, Ryan, as we go track down Raffaele Marciello after that impressive qualifying 1 stint from that driver. Little notes from pit lane. I do have an update on that Burton Lumber 91 Mercedes. They did not really take a lap time there, but Jeff did go out to scrub some tires. They're going to do the same with Dan Arrow as well as Philip Ellis to fill out that session. They are having some fueling issues of what they're trying to track down with that. Another note on the CrowdStrike Mercedes, did talk to the team. They said they're not worried about qualifying here today. And then also on that Turner BMW, just wanted to pass up and tell you guys that it was a boost hose that they were chasing down that they were able to fix. And now we have found Raffaele Marciello for an interview after qualifying session. You look, I don't know if you're perturbed, or was everything okay out there for you?
Yeah, I mean, we know quali is not very important. When I won 3 years ago, if you remember, we were quite far back from quali, so I mean it's important for sure, but there is still 2 quali. It's important to have a good car in the race pace, but we think we have a good quali car, a good race car, so let's see.
Good luck.
Thank you.
The ever-loquacious Raffaele Marciello. He does his talking on the track, doesn't he?
He does that for sure.
But it was a great lap once again, and he brings up a good point. He has won this race, and he did come from a long way back. And if I remember correctly, he kind of called his shot and said, doesn't matter where we start, we're going to win. And he did. I think that was the first one that ended at night as well, if memory serves.
Yeah, I believe it was spectacular.
Well, he always is behind the wheel. He is worth the price of admission. We'll see who jumps in that 777 car next. Should be Kenny Hobwool next, according to Will Power, at least, in the 75. Chance Mostert did his thing.
Kenny's been quick here this weekend.
He has.
See if he can get into the 23 range, but I'm sure that would be his target, to break that 124 flat barrier, possibly.
I think he could do that. He's been within a few tenths of his co-drivers at times in some of the practices and testing that we've seen. Not out of the realm of possibility by any stretch. It's a track he knows quite well. And drivers will tell you it's not the most difficult to get up to speed on either, which helps to ease the transition for some that are either coming here for the first time or jumping into a GT car when that's not what they're used to, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it's more of a rhythm type feel that you need to establish here versus total commitment. There's not too many corners that really challenge you in that way, really knowing the ultimate edge of one of these GT3 cars, and I think that's why it makes it a little bit easier for some of these superstars to jump on board and be right there at the pace of some of the regular factory drivers.
All right, let's do it again. New drivers now installed in all of the cars, and it is about time to go again, and we'll see what kind of lap times we can put on the board here in this second qualifying segment. As you pointed out earlier, Calvin, these cars should be capable of going a little bit faster because they burned off the fuel from that first 15 minutes.
Yeah, you would expect them to be a tenth and a half, maybe quicker each session as we move through this afternoon. But again, depends on the balance of the car. Sometimes if they're on full tanks, it can feel a little bit better in terms of the balance, but typically lighter car, faster speeds.
It was a phenomenal Q1 for the Dollahite Racing team, and the eponymous Scott Dollahite can talk about it now. Amanda Busick has found him.
Yeah, he was just saying how much of a team effort that was in reflection of that qualifying for you, Scott. Just how good does that feel to have this come together right here in Indianapolis?
It feels amazing. I mean, our whole team, we're just having so much fun being here, and yeah, we're at Indy. You know, it's a dream come true, and yeah, it's been a really big team effort for all of us, and we're all rowing the boat in the same direction. So again, we're just happy to be here, and we're having a great time.
And just to clarify, you're 10th overall and the highest place AM in that one?
That's what I've heard. So yeah, we're really proud of the effort that all the guys have done, and you know, Eric and Stefano have both helped me a lot, you know, get my pace up. So yeah, hats off to them as well.
And lastly, quickly, when you hear the words Ford versus Ferrari, what comes to mind?
Just hopefully a really good race. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and yeah, hopefully we'll end up on top.
It's been really close all year long with the two cars in the M class in GT World Challenge America, Ford and Ferrari, and it is Scott Dollahite who's got a chance if he can finish ahead of Jay Schreibman and Oz Negri to take home the season-long championship. Meantime, little setback here for the 0-4. This is a car that didn't set a time, remember, in that first segment, and they will have a stop-and-go penalty here for a pit lane speed violation. It's not been the most straightforward 24 hours for this car. They also had to do some repair work. A transmission issue cropped up and meant they only got a handful of laps in the night practice last night. Things seemed to be squared away, though, when they were on track earlier today.
Yeah, Colin had a top 5 time overall, so it looked like he had speed in the car, but you know, just getting back to grips with the GT3 car. But Riley's been busy, having his hands full, running that Lamborghini GTP program recently, as well as his LMP2 program for Gar Robinson, the Ranch 74 car.
Always a busy group. Riley Motorsports. The focus here on the task at hand, which is to try and deliver another blue ribbon win for George Kurtz, Colin Brown, who brought in Toby Sowery as well to join them here this weekend. It's Toby who's aboard the car at the moment. McLaren coming down the front straightaway at Indianapolis. 3 McLaren wins in the Indy 500. 2 from Johnny Rutherford, Lone Star JR, in the first 1972 to Mark Donohue. So continuing very much in that vein here. And of course a US Grand Prix win for McLaren Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton too. They're looking to add to their rich racing history at Indianapolis. First couple of times popping up, I believe. And Maxime Martin in the 80 from Lone Star, Alec Udell in for DXDT. It's the Canadian Eric Povoledo for Schwez Povoledo Racing in their Corvettes. Patrick Gallagher for Turner. Thomas Merrill in the McLaren we saw a moment ago. Just some of those that are on track. A few cars still shown as in the pits, but more and more are starting to make their way out once again.
Spoke to Patrick Gallagher about the transition back to this championship in the Pirelli tire. He just says you have to handle the car a little bit differently in what we call combined load, where you're steering and powering at the same time. Robbie Foley was having lunch with him. He said, yeah, you just got to be a little bit more careful and smoother with that transition between both of your inputs there. But I think for Patrick Gallagher, he just wants to knock out his ride time, not get in the way of his friends and teammates' championship charge here. Essentially, they finish P2, they'll win the championship, whatever the 11 DXDT Corvette does this weekend, including the big win. And if the 11 car shouldn't win, then the top 5 will be enough.
Apologies right now, we can't give you the average times, working on getting that for you, but what we can tell you is in the session, at least, it is Maxime Martin quickest. With Gallagher in this car right here, not too far behind. Patrick on his best first sector. Here at the moment, he catch a little traffic there in sector 2. That might have cost him a little bit of time.
Really quick there by Maxime Martin, 23.014, so knocking on the door of that 122 bracket that we anticipate seeing here before the end of the afternoon.
Will it come in one of these qualifying sessions? Will it come in the shootout later on today? Hard to say. But we do feel like it is on its way at some point. Martin flirting with it, just 14 thousandths of a second away.
Balls under the 124 mark immediately, so he said that may be his game plan. Well, he's hit that really early in this session. May have a few more tenths he can find. Just went personal best in the first sector. Martin's got a flyer going at the moment now.
Yeah. Gave up a little bit to his personal best in sector 3, but even still, it's a 22.768 for Maxime Martin, I think, or is that the average maybe? I think his lap could have been a 22.4, so that would make that time on that screen, sorry, as we're figuring this out in real time, quite possibly the average. If so, it's a 22.768.
Yeah, his last lap was the 22.415.
Okay.
So that's an average. That's really strong for that group. Wide there by Alec Udell as he gets this Corvette fired up here. Won 8 races aboard a similar DXDT machine last year. This was the one race that he and Tommy Milner did struggle for pace here. But hopefully they got a little sharper weapon to work with for this race weekend.
Yeah, that was a curious one. They had won 8 races on a bounce. It seemed like a lot of wind in their sails, but just never were in the fight here a year ago. So some unfinished business for Alec Udell. Alex average now across the 2 sessions for this 11 car. It's a 123.802, I believe.
Yeah, and his last lap was 123.589, so pretty solid lap here.
Here is the reigning, for a day more, Intercontinental GT Challenge overall champion, the Belgian, Charles Weerts. His name is the W in Team WRT, and his BMW crosses the stripe, and right now shown 4th.
Lap by Augusto Farfus was second fastest in this session. It also puts that car second combined with his teammates' earlier run. Squad happy with that. Maxime Martin didn't put many laps on the board there either, so those tires left plenty of life to work with come race time tomorrow, should they elect to use that as part of their race allocation. Looking at essentially 8 stints, of course, with these cars running 65-minute sessions here tomorrow. Yellows could increase that number of pit stops and how many segments you'll have in the race, but you should have plenty of tires to work with. Manage it a little bit during the early part of this weekend so it doesn't backfire on you later come race time.
Grenier's so good in one of these Mercedes. He's become indispensable to the factory in recent years. Wherever they send him, he just jumps in and goes fast, and he's helped to elevate this JMF team in its first year of GT3 racing. They won overall in their GT3 debut at Sonoma earlier this season here in North America, and doing what he does best right now. So Maxime Martin quickest in this segment, and it's good enough to drag the 80 to the top on the combined time charts as well. The 777, third in this segment, but second combined. 888, third combined. Lucas Stoltz currently 5th in the segment. Here's Grenier, who is 4th in the segment.
Doesn't look like a great lap, though.
No.
Personal best first sector, but not a great middle. Let's see what he finishes off the lap with. No, 10th off the previous one, so missed it a little bit. See if that's tire pressure related or just a little mistake by the ace behind the wheel.
Those come few and far between, I think it's safe to say, for the Canadian. Who raced here in his junior open wheel career. Made a what was then Indy Light start on the IMS Oval.
Nicolau set the fastest lap this morning in that pre-qualifying session, so it may just be a more conservative approach by JMF, just making sure they get 3 solid laps together here with their 3 drivers to make it into that pole shootout. Again, the times are reset, so there's no carryover, just like Formula 1 qualifying. That last segment, you're starting from scratch. Once again, the key is making it in.
Ricardo Feller in the Porsche, second quickest time here in Q2. Car's a little further down the order in terms of the combined, but Feller from Switzerland, rapid driver, 2 times a GT World Challenge Europe champion, once in the Endurance Cup, once in the Sprint. It was a silver class title in Endurance, where it was a pro in Sprint, 21 and 23, the years respectively. Also a GT Masters champion. And he comes across the line again, still showing second fastest, about a half a second off of that lap from Maxime Martin, which goes a long way to saying just how good of a lap it was. And there is Maxime now with the very colorful helmet. Or is that actually Jules Gounon, excuse me, who's getting ready to jump in the next segment in that car. Apologies there.
I think Feller's got quite a bit of time to find here. His last lap was a low 24, so let's see if he can improve on that.
In fairness, they all have time to find relative to Maxime's lap. That was outstanding.
Yeah, Feller's right down the order right now, 22nd. So to see if he can respond, but as you say, he's got great credentials. You'd have to think he's going to be digging deep here.
And once again, the 04 crowd strike by Riley, 91 regulator racing. Both of those Mercedes have not registered times here in this segment as they did in segment 1. So maybe Amanda can get some intel for us on what might be the problem for those 2 cars. That is not the way you want to start your 8-hour weekend, already on the back foot.
Back foot, unless it's just a strategy play to have more tires to work with.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can think as to why you'd be holding out like that from a strategy standpoint versus a technical issue on the cars.
Well, it's a question worth asking. Darren Turner for Heart of Racing. Car 24, this car shown 19th in this segment, 16th when you combine segment 1 and segment 2. Darren loving the chance to race full-time in the States this year in GT World Challenge America. He's done battle from time to time with Jan Heylen, the veteran Belgian with RS1. Alex Sedgwick was really impressive in the first qualifying segment, wasn't he? Now it's Halen, which means that they are keeping Alessio Piccarello in reserve.
Yeah, a couple of Belgians in the car this weekend. Got their engineer back, who engineered this car to a sweep of the VIR weekend. So they're coming in with a lot of confidence. And as Jonathan said, when are Porsche going to really show what they have to play with here this weekend?
Look at Klaus Bachler now. Quickest in this section, segment 2 of qualifying in the Pro-Am class. It's a great opportunity for GMG to be able to draft in Klaus. Where does that have the 32 in the combined? Down at 18th currently.
Bachler had a couple of wins this year with Lauren Heinrich driving Rexy. Similar Porsche machine, so just really what I'd call a super pro. I mean, just so impressed with he and Lauren's, their approach to their racing and their craft and how they go about it. Just really just super disciplined and very focused.
Gattuso has done his bit with 15 seconds left here in Q2. That car 14th in Q2, but 11th on the combined charts, and only fractionally out of the top 10, 18 thousandths of a second, in fact, separating them from a potential appearance in the pole shootout with 15 minutes of qualifying still to come. That is a big deal for them. That's a car that had to be completely rebuilt after a massive crash at Road America over the summer. Hundreds of man-hours spent, including the two of the drivers, with Powell and Scott Dolehite spending time in the Multimatic shop in North Carolina rebuilding this car and preparing it for the stretch run of the season. Checkered flag is out. Doesn't look like anyone is out on a flyer. In fact, only car shown out on track still is Aaron Povolato for Suez Povolato Racing. And so, Maxime Martin's lap, eye-opening at a 1:22.415, half a second clearer everyone else in this qualifying segment. And it's enough to put the 80 at the top of the pecking order. 80 from 777 from 888. So Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes. Then it's a BMW that was shown in fourth a moment ago too, I believe. Yeah, these are the results from, yes, this qualifying segment. What a lap from Maxime. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that came quick. I think it was about the third lap there, Jonathan. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise to see the Mercedes AMG be that quick, but boy, I think we knew after night practice that the 80 had unlocked something. They were comfortable with it. I think more than 5/10 margin is plenty comfortable, Calvin. You mentioned it a little bit ago. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. I'm curious when Porsche is going to start to show their pace, or if this truly is what they have. Alex Sedgwick, 6th fastest in this session, or combined overall at 1:23.522. The 1:23.441, the average across the two sessions so far. Still one to go. Curious to see if they can bump up the order a little bit. I think the Corvette is showing a little bit of promise as well. It did, at least in the first session, in the hands of Blake McDonald.
Yeah, Blake did a great job. They're just outside of the top 10 here at the moment. We've been singing the praises of Maxime Martin. What a lap he put together, and it's now a time to hear from the rapid Belgian. Amanda Busick has caught up with him down in the pits.
I think I've heard the booth say the word outstanding maybe 10 different times when it came to your lap around here at IMS. You were ahead of the rest of your group, probably 0.3 of a second and better in every sector time. What's the secret to creating perfect rhythm around this place?
Yeah, to be honest, it was an amazing lap. I really had a really good peak with the tires. And at the end, yeah, it was, like I said, nothing a lot more to say. It's when you have the big peak, you have the good grip, you can really lean on the tire, and at the end, it's making the big difference.
Well done, it showed.
Thank you.
And Calvin, I did talk to Maxime off camera just quickly. He believes it was lap 3 that time was set.
Yeah, it's a little bit quicker than we're seeing some of the others come alive. So AJ Peterson just seems to have the magic source around this racetrack, the engineer for this squad and kind of team manager there. So small team, but make great things happen here at Indy.
Oh, they were so good here a year ago, of course. This is who Alex Palou drove for and qualified on the outside of the front row, ran at the front before they had some misfortune, and then they assisted Kraft Bamboo to an Indy 8-hour win a few years before that.
Yeah, so great pedigree and a great representative for Mercedes-Benz here in this IGTC round.
And have been for a long time. We'll see Jules Gounon taking controls of the number 80 coming up next when we get the third and final segment of qualifying underway. 15 minutes to settle who makes it into the shootout. Right now, the last car in is the number 51 entry from Random Vandals Racing. The first one out is the Dollarhide Racing Ford Mustang. Interestingly, too, that outside looking in is the Wright Motorsports Porsche, the 120 that sits 12th, but it doesn't take a whole lot to jump up a couple of positions, and they have an ace up their sleeve.
Yeah, they certainly do. That's in Lauren Heinrich. You got Eric Powell going to have a shot at in the number 6 to try and break into the top 10. This is overall, of course, but that's what we're talking about for the Super Pole. And Philip Eng will be aboard the 51. So he's not going to be an easy guy to try and beat here and get that final spot. And you think that Philip Eng, if he raised down one of his flyers, they could even move that car a little bit deeper in the top 10. But it really doesn't matter. All you want to be is safely in the top 10 and make it through to the Super Pole.
And let's not forget Turner Motorsports either, 13th. I think this is going to be a really, really interesting battle. Of course, we're going to be looking at the sharp end, who's setting the quick times, but who's making it to the next session in Super Pole, I think, is what's going to be catching my eye, because there are so many cars in contention, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the fast laps. That's the eye-popping stuff, but really the compelling thing about what's about to take place is that battle for the final transfer spot, to use some short track parlance. Got to make it inside the top 10. Right now, the difference between in or out is 18 thousandths of a second. That's across two drivers combined. Let's not forget, we're about to have the third driver add their part to it here in the qualifying session. We mentioned that we've had a couple of cars not set times in the first two segments, and Amanda might be able to answer some of those questions, or at least she's found someone who can. She's found Colin Brown.
Yeah, and welcome back to the CrowdStrike Mercedes. Colin, update us on what's going on with your all's car.
Yeah, everything's good on our end. I think it's no secret. Bill Riley is a pretty smart guy, and we had good practice sessions. We had a good test here a while ago. So for us, we were just focused on trying to save tires for the race, put us in the best spot with this CrowdStrike car. And yeah, I think we were all comfortable, happy in practice. Such a long race. We just focused completely on the race and going into that with as many tires as fresh as we can for the distance of the race. And again, Bill knows his stuff, so we believe in him.
We've missed you guys.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been nice to be back. We definitely enjoyed George and I racing together in Sonoma. Super fun series and cool car to drive. Great facility here in Indy. So nice to be back, enjoying it, having fun, and looking forward to a tough race tomorrow.
Okay, and real quickly, just tell me a little bit more about those racing shoes.
Yeah, I can't always pull these off in other series that I race in, but man, I love them. Alpine Star sent them to me, and said, hey, you got to represent. So yeah, I've been rocking and rolling them here on the SRO side.
America, is that what you said?
That's it, America, man.
Thanks.
Welcome back to Colin, 2023 Pro-Am champion at GT World Challenge America. Interesting, Cal, you were right on the money. They were looking after the tire allocation.
Yeah, and it's not like you're putting 15 minutes on a max, right? And we saw like Maxine put 3 or 4 laps on here, so you're not taking a chunk of the life out. But I think the focus is on tomorrow. We expect to see the odd caution or two to reset, and that gets you back in the game. And then you just got the perfect scenario in terms of fresh Pirelli P0s for every single stint of what we anticipate being an 8-stint race.
Easier to do when you're not thinking about a championship. You're just coming in with one goal to win.
I'm not necessarily because they're not in the championship contention. I think they're out to win the race. I think they figured this is the best way to execute tomorrow, whether they're going for a title or just going for the race win. You just got smart people, and they just look at the bigger picture sometimes and not so worried about whether they're starting up front. And particularly, who knows, they may elect to start one of their pros in the car to cut through the field a little bit if we anticipate some of the AMs taking the start here tomorrow.
There's the green flag, so for the final time in qualifying, we're about to turn the cars loose. 15 minutes on the clock, and we will finally figure out who will make it through to the pole shootout. Top 10 cars advance. And it is, as usual, a rush to make it onto the track. A few cars taking their time, but most trying to get out as quickly as possible. That covers you if there should be any interruptions in the session. There's a risk with waiting it out in the pit lane.
That is for sure. You get a red, suddenly you don't have enough time to respond. So rolling the dice, and as you talk about that, right here we see a car. I think that's the RS1 Porsche, is it?
It is indeed, with Alessio Piccarello in the car. This is not what they wanted to get their weekend started from the obvious observation department there, but
shaking
Alessio,
his head there, looks like he's in radio communication, maybe trying to do a Control-Alt-Delete, as we call it, just resetting the electronics, or whether he's just got a terminal failure or something that's going to stop him from seeing action in this session.
Now, he'll know this car inside and out. He's been racing Porsches for quite a while. Won a GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup Championship just last week with Rutronic Racing, joining Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser, and it was Piccarello's opening stint that played a big part in that. And we do have a red flag. Now, just as the red comes out, isn't that always how it goes? The car fires up. Amazing.
Maybe they got their car set up to get up to speed really quickly. Do you know what I mean? So this will be fun.
Clock keeps running. It was a short stoppage, so shouldn't have any significant impact on the session, except that it does create a little extra sense of urgency, and not much to glean from that replay, I'm afraid.
Well, the fact that he didn't keep rolling to see if he could get to pit entry indicates to me that he was feeling some of the cars a little bit off, and he elected to find what he felt was a safe place on the racetrack to stop the car and do that Control-Alt-Delete. Problem is, by causing a red flag, you lose your two best qualifying laps, so it's going to backfire on them a little bit.
Yeah, that is a good point. Where had that car been in this session up to that point? 18 was 6th on the combined charts. So they will have to hustle to make sure they have effectively 3 fast laps in to preserve that position.
Yeah, if the car's consistent, not impossible, but first question is the car back to 100%?
True. That is step one. And again, if they aren't credited with any time, then they get scored behind everyone who has had all 3 of their drivers set times. So they would be ahead of the 2 cars that have not run at all, but still, that would put them toward the back. And that's a crew that I think feels they can represent the North American Championship and run at the very front of this race with the lineup that they have and the team that they've assembled.
Yeah, and essentially no shot at the title, so they can kind of free rein it a little bit here tomorrow and just try and finish off on a high. A lot of discussion about whether they'll return next year. Certainly Alex Sedgwick hopes they will. He feels that he's done a nice job this year, but a lot of pieces have to be put into place first, but it's great to see them back.
It has been a really good year for the team. Alex Sedgwick and Jan Halen. And let's hear from Jan now. Maybe he can provide a little insight into what just happened.
Yeah, they do think everything's okay with this Porsche, but Jan, what can you tell us happened?
Yeah, as he was leaving pit lane, he got an alarm on the dash, and he had to recycle the car. So it always takes a few seconds to do that, but I think we're good to go now.
No extra checks needed down here?
No, not for right now. Of course, we'll look into it more after the session, but I think we'll be just fine for qualifying.
Thank you.
That's good to hear. Mechanic taking a look at tire pressures, but they'll get it out quickly. They need to ensure that they at least put a time up in the segment.
I have to question that decision, though. If the car did have enough, it was kept rolling, and if it's just come to a stop, then okay. But if he'd have kept rolling down pit lane, then he wouldn't have caused the red and consequently lose his 2 best times.
Yeah, that's true. You do see Philip Ellis coming out. I think we've had them do a lap and come back in previous segments. We'll see what Philip Ellis and the Regulator Racing team choose to do. But anyway, they venture back out Now everybody else starting to build up to speed here. Inside of 10 minutes, pressure-packed situation now. Who will make it inside the top 10? On the outside looking in includes last year's North American race winners, Wright Motorsports and their number 120. It includes last year's Pro-Am champions and this year's Pro-Am championship leaders, Robbie Foley and Justin Rothberg for Turner Motorsport. They're way down.
Slim margins though. Just a couple of tenths can swing it, so we'll see what everyone's got. As we said, the car's now at its lightest, so theoretically will be its fastest right now.
A bit of traffic to contend with. The regulator car a little bit slow getting going there. And didn't appear to cut any slack to the BMW car 46 a moment ago, but everyone continues on. Let's see how quickly people start to pick up the pace. How about this 80 car? What an advantage it might be, Calvin, for them to be able to get that speed quicker than some of their competitors when the time frame has been compressed.
Well, you can tick both boxes, right? You can have a good qualifying starting position for the race tomorrow, and you're not putting a lot of time on those tires. So we believe that's what the 04 are doing. Colin told us that, and maybe the Regulator Racing 91 as well. So right now, Jules Gounod going out there, a couple of Spa wins to his name, was on a tear at Bathurst back a couple of years ago, won what, 3 or 4 consecutive races there. So he's certainly an ace behind the wheel of one of these machines, albeit does a lot of prototype racing these days as well.
20, 22, 23, the years that Jules Gounod won in Bathurst overall. He's also a former Intercontinental GT Challenge overall champion. That was back in 2023. The Bathurst win contributed to that, and a GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup champion as well, 2 times over in 22 and 23.
I think he won here in IMSA in 23 as well, so he's familiar with this territory here. He's kissed the outer bricks before.
Knows just how special that is and would like to double dip, come back in for another date with Destiny on the Brickyard. Watching now as the 888 starts to put its car through its paces. That's Mauro Engel, the veteran. Gruppe M, the team, based out of Germany, but flagged with the Hong Kong flag. And it's the interference livery on the car that we saw on a couple of occasions already this year at Intercontinental GT Challenge. Really sharp. You know exactly what car you're looking at, and no matter which way you look at it, it's been quick.
Foley just really taking his time here, just trying to build those tires up to pressure slowly, not getting them too peaky. Been really impressed with what Robbie's been able to do in qualifying sessions, especially this year with that extra weight that he carries with Rothberg's derogation situation.
Yeah, that's true. He's taken a couple of poles, 3 in fact, won 3 on the bounce. Coda, Sebring, and VIR. It's been a good year for them. This year they come in as the championship favorites, which was the opposite situation what they found themselves in a year ago when they did take the title by a narrow 5 points. Trying to back it up with eyes on moving up to the pro class next year, but right now the focus is on the here and now, and Foley has turned in a nice lap at a 23.517.
Jules Gounod now on the attack. Personal best first sector, really good second, middle sector, little lock up there. Even with the ABS, a little puff of the Pirelli P0 in that awkward brake zone there. Connor Daly told me this racetrack is really slippery through turn 12 come race day.
Correction, Foley's lap actually was down in the mid-22s, and that's helped to jump that car to the top of the combined time charts. Gounod comes through to the top of the combined time charts now in the 80. That car again not waiting around to get up to speed. Mercedes to the point. Then it's BMW. Faisal Al-Zubair behind the wheel of the 777. Valentino Rossi getting his first qualifying laps in at Indy since his MotoGP days. Up now with the 46 in the 3rd position. And that cut line down in 10th place. Last car through as they run, the 99 from Random Vandals Racing, which has Connor De Filippi behind the wheel.
Eric Powell's put a good lap together. He's got that AM entry up into the top 10 right now, but I think some of those positions in the lower part of the top 10 and just outside, may spin around here a little bit before the checkered flag in this session. Just under 5 minutes to go.
De Filippi on a good lap here in the 51, in the midst of a championship battle of his own.
Coming off a big win last weekend at Petit Le Mans.
That's right. Paired up all season with Kenton Cook and then IndyCar driver Connor Daly. Let's remember the very end of his qualifying segment, he put in a couple of fast laps that got them in the top 10. Maybe that's enough to help them stay there and advance to the pole shootout.
22.654 is the last lap for Connor De Filippi and puts that 99 in P4 overall right now.
And De Filippi has that car safely in for the moment. On the cut line, Eric Powell to 10th place for Dollarhide Racing and the Mustang. Just got bumped out though, down to 11th. Mauro Engel now sits on the proverbial bubble in the Triple Eights.
Yeah, they were 8th a moment ago now. Suddenly Eric Powell finds himself in 13th as the times are really coming in now. Lauren Heinrich has got a good one on the board and puts that Wright Motorsport number 120 up in just inside the top 10. It is awfully tight.
Oh, it's so close. Heinrich in by 11 thousandths of a second on combined time across 3 drivers and nearly 45 minutes of qualifying. Powell now on the outside looking in, would provisionally have the AM class pole by a hefty margin over the AF Corsa entry that has Conrad Grunwald in it at the moment.
Personal best, Sector 1. Sector 2 coming up right now. Another personal best.
It's only out of the top 10 by a few tenths. But again, it has to be enough to move the average. Inside of 3 minutes to go, Gunon's called it quits. Lone Star Racing, they feel like they've gotten what they can out of their Mercedes. And now it's for the rest of the field to take its shot at the Texas-based team. Here comes Eric Powell. He goes better for himself, but it's not enough to change. He's still 13th. Change for 3rd. Lucas Auer now ahead of Alfaiso Al-Zubair.
Yeah, 23-1 for Lucas Auer there.
Turner is in. Well, they were. Now they're out. Just like that. And it's Philip Eng on the bubble. No AM-class cars inside the top 10.
Yeah, Eng just put a lap together, which is literally, 1600s faster than Foley.
The margins are so fine. 16 thousandths in terms of who makes it through. Eng is in. Foley and company are out. No Pro-Am cars nor any AM cars right now inside the top 10, which is a change from what we've seen here at Indy in previous years. Inside the final 2 minutes, Powell on a good lap again. He just did a great first sector. Here comes the Random Vandals car of De Filippi. No change there. Solidly inside the top 10. We're waiting on Alfaiso Al-Zubair, who is personal best through sectors 1 and 2. That car, 777, already inside the top 10, but he does trip the timing beacon and jump one more spot up to 3rd. Wow. Of course, all the positions in the top 10 will change hands potentially with the pole shootout still to come. Positions 11 on down to 25 are set right here in the next 65 seconds. Powell did improve up to 12th.
Will Power across the line there. He's got that 75 Express car well inside the top 10, P7. They'll be happy with that. Should have enough margin not to be pipped here in the last 40-odd seconds to go.
The 2 cars fighting for the final transfer spot are the 2 cars racing for the Pro-Am Championship this year in GT World Challenge America. Robbie Foley in the pit lane has the Turner car there by a fraction. It's Matt Bell now in the DXDT Racing Corvette that is 11th quickest across the 3 drivers and needs to put together one more lap. I think he's got a chance to do it. There is time to do it, but does he have the speed left in the Chevy? Basically, all of the front runners are in the pits. This is the car we've got our eyes on. Here comes Matt Bell. First sector is not enough.
Not good. He's like 4/10 off what Robbie Foley ran through that first sector, so maybe that's not where the Corvette shines, but nonetheless, that's a big margin to make up here and threaten the Turner car to pop them out of that Super Pole Shootout this afternoon.
Foley's lap is 6th best in this segment, and that's the lap that has done the job. It has put Turner through as they run. Bell chipping away, getting a little bit closer, but again, this has to move the average enough to surpass the 29 car, and that is much easier said than done.
Yeah, he's pushing hard there, using every inch of the road there, compromising the line on the front straightaway. And when you use that much road there coming through 13, hard to keep it flat out on the front stretch as the checkered flag flies.
There is the checkered flag for Matt Bell, and it is not enough. It looks like Robbie Foley, Justin Rothberg, and Turner Motorsport survived the bubble. They advance to the Pole Shootout coming up later on this evening. The only non-pro entry to make it inside the top 10. And there is a long history of non-pro cars taking the overall pole for this event. Can they add to that legacy? For the moment, though, it's all Lone Star Racing once again, like we saw from them a year ago. That team and this track, there is something magic about the combination.
Yeah, well, you got a notebook to work from, and you think you come back to the racetrack, why not? But we've also made a tire switch, so Lone Star Racing does not have a lot of time with this new tire that was introduced at Road America from Pirelli. So just really sharp squad there, excellent job, and this Pole Shootout today is going to be a fascinating one with so many stars going to be running that session.
I can't imagine you'd want to make a wager, would you, Jonathan?
Oh boy, I think it's too early to tell. I really do like the Mercedes AMG package. I think the 80 goes in, of course, as the favorite. But let's not count out Team WRT. The 777 has looked really, really sharp, and I think the 46 has the lineup to get it done. Probably looked sharp in this session too.
This is how this third segment of qualifying wrapped up, and it was incredibly tight at the front, with the top couple covered by less than 1/10 of a second. And just go on down. Top 20 all within 1 second of one another. This final segment of qualifying so important as it did set that top group. Interesting that RS1 did not get a time on the board, Calvin. Shown as no time down in 24th. And so that means they'll start behind all 22 teams that did have all 3 drivers set times. That is, of course, pending technical inspection, but it's a bit of a setback for a team that had aspirations of running at the very front of this race, but a long race still ahead. Positions 1 through 10 still to be determined based on Pole Shootout later this evening, but we can say definitively that positions 11 on back are set. Again, that is relative to tech inspection still to come. But top 10 shootout coming your way a little bit later. A chance now to hear from Max Martin.
I'm sure you guys are so optimistic about what you've seen here today with Lone Star Racing, and I know you just got the update on Super Pole. Well done for your team. Who takes it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice it's a really good start. I mean, for sure we still have the shootout later, but it's a good start. It's good to be all 3 of us very consistent, always there. So I think it's a good start, but it's a long race, still a shootout to go, but Jules is going to do, I'm sure, a very good job.
All right, well, I know you'll be cheering around.
Yes, thank you.
Big smile for Maxime. Wonder who's going to be drafted into these different cars.
He said Jules.
Yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't backfire on the team with that decision, which has probably been preempted before this session, but Maxime was a monster there in his stint.
Well, we know where they're headed, but my point is I wonder about the other 9 and some decisions to be made within these teams. We'll see what it looks like. But look, it's shaping up to be a really competitive qualifying Pole Shootout, I should say, and a really competitive race as well, based on what we've seen so far here this weekend. Can anyone upend the apple cart with Mercedes? Again, showing some dominance over the course of the weekend. Pole Shootout still to come. That will be at 5:40 local time here in Indianapolis.